Welcome to the Hard Rock Show. I'm Andrew.
I'm Tim.
And it's just us two this week. People are getting very busy, it seems. I think Brendan's getting busier and busier with his pool stuff as the weather seems to get a bit better for everyone. And
yeah, getting into the busy time of year, unfortunately, closer to Christmas.
Yes, that's true for him. And Dave has his kids come back to school, so he's off taking care of things like that. And so, yeah, I think that... And Mick's doing a warehouse move and everyone else is busy as well. So it's just us two tonight. So hopefully everyone can put up with us two for a little bit. We'll see how we go.
I think the same thing happened last year.
It happens all the
this time as well.
Yeah, it happens, yeah. Because there was a full special episode that was just you and I as well, wasn't it? A 2-hour one.
Yeah.
Together, yeah. So it is around this time of year. Maybe we'll have to start marking on the calendar that we know that October is just going to be a shit fight for everyone. Which is funny because it's always Halloween and that's Dave's favorite time of the year as well. So we'll see how that persists as things move on. But for those watching or listening, details are in the description of this. I'm going to stop saying it's on the screen for this one because that's pretty much only pertinent for television. So make sure you hit the description of this episode, whether you're watching or listening to it, so that you can get all the details to follow us with all our different online channels. Subscribe, follow, give us comments, feedback, all that sort of stuff. You know what to do. And if you could also please check out our Patreon page. That'd be very, very helpful to us. Anything from $2 a month and up, it gives you access to things like early access, Zoom one-to-one sessions. We'll do a review for you or giveaways, all sorts of stuff in there. So have a quick look at that. And while we're on this sort of topic, a very special thank you to our wonderful sponsors in Squidding, Screen Printing, Alt Cult, and Rockstar Finance. Thank you so much for your support. Make sure you please look them up, hit the links in the description, and just follow them on social media just to show them a little bit of love. It doesn't cost you anything at all. Just show them some love for the support they give us here. Also, while I'm going through the whole preamble, don't forget that we are still on television for the next little bit, I think until June 2021 as things stand today. So Saturday nights, 10:30 p.m. on Channel 31 Melbourne and Geelong. That's where you'll see us. And then on Thursday nights in Adelaide on Channel 44 at 10:30 p.m. you'll see us there. Tonight, we're going to go through the latest from Wartooth. We're going to go back in time to cover a bit of Masterplan and Unisonic, and then we're going to come back to do the latest from Blue Oyster Cult as our main event for the evening. And that's what we're doing today. I have a hot topic in a second. Before that, how are you going, Tim? How has this week been for you?
Yeah, it's actually been all right, you know. Slowly, because I've been working the whole way through, so, you know, it's been nice to, you know, have more people start work and sort of have interaction with other people rather than the same 3 people every week. So it's actually been quite good.
Okay,
trying to see people and seeing old regulars that I haven't seen in months. So
yeah,
that's been nice. Yourself?
Yeah, good. I think we're still on the opposite side of the spectrum here. I've been quieter. So I've been sitting here doing a lot of the editing and chopping and stuff. So it's only literally me, Jody and Zach and the dogs. And the only other people I see are you guys via Zoom or whenever I go to the supermarket, but there's no actual personable interaction when you go to the supermarket. It's all just, you know, idle small talk, so whatever. But all in all, it's been all right. I think this week in particular has been a bit harder. I'll get to it. I've been a bit later on too, but there's been some negative shit going on just on the political and media front, which has just pissed me off. But it gets under your skin when there's nothing else you can sort of really do apart from sit at home and watch it all play out. But no, whenever I feel like that, I just get focused on what I'm doing here and do more of this stuff. And there's a lot of stuff to go online. So that's how it's keep me busy, keep me out of trouble, which is all good. Next week or next time we chat, I'm sure it'll be a different mood again because it always goes up and down at the moment. That's just how it works. It's just funny hearing you, the one that was built for isolation, enjoying meeting old faces again. So
no, this is the thing. I mean, like, I'm naturally just a more introverted person, you know, and it's going to be easier for me. I know it's easier for me than it is for other people. You know, people who sort of get their energy from conversing with others.
Yeah. No, well, Jody's very shortly as we do this one, so we're hoping to see the girls very soon. So that's the goal.
Yep.
Yes, that's the hard part for us. Everything else is actually pretty good.
Yeah, and I mean, look, unfortunately, like, because a lot of my close friends don't really live close to me these days anyway. We've all sort of moved on, done our own separate things. So I've been lucky enough to sort of stay in contact the whole time. So, you know, I've already got that network there, and, you know, the hard thing is I'm missing GYG. I haven't had a burrito in months. So.
You were saying that in the chat earlier today. Yeah, I'm not missing junk food considering I was doing a lot of Uber Eats driving. I'm not missing that at the moment. I'm enjoying being home and cooking more, which is I just generally enjoy it. Which the kids and the wife love. So that's always a bonus.
Yeah, that's the main thing.
No, everything's good. We'll see how it goes. I think we're getting together on Sunday again, so we'll see how we're all feeling in a few days as we do this one today. But so far, so good. Good to hear you're doing well over there. So now we'll get on to a hot topic, which is a different one. This week we haven't really done this one before because I got an email. I believe I got it through Marek Media, which is to do with coloring books from rock and metal bands. And so the idea, the whole thing about it is that I think it's on pre-order at the moment. There are official coloring books coming from Motorhead and from Judas Priest. Now they're both very, very cool bands with some great artwork to color in on. So if that's your thing, then look it up. But we figured we'd sit here and rattle off a handful of our own. I did say about 5, but I've got more than that. I don't know how many you've got, but what bands?
I've got 5 written. I've got 5 written down. We'll go to 6 that I thought off the top of my head.
Yeah, cool. All right. So what bands would you like to see release their own range of official coloring books? What do you think?
First of all, I think this is a fantastic idea.
It's a great idea, isn't it?
This is great.
Perfect.
But to split them up into categories, the obvious one for me and like the more is Mastodon.
Yeah.
Because again, they've got the if you look through all the booklets and they're the ones that have the full A2 posters of album covers and the full artworks and that's for all of them, man. That would be a real treat to go through. And the other one is Baroness.
Yeah, they're both very cool.
Again, same thing with big psychedelic artwork, and you can have a lot of fun with that.
Yep.
For more, we're all metalheads, so for more horror themed stuff,
I knew you'd enjoy this side of it.
The first one I've had, Maiden.
Yeah, cool.
Because we'd all love to draw Reggie.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And the obvious one, the obvious violet cover, Cannibal Corpse.
Yeah, I was wondering how long it'd take for them to get a mention in this.
Things like Butchered at Birth would just be hilariously fun to go through, knowing that it's a colouring book.
Mm-hmm.
And the other one I've got, again, great visuals all around, Pink Floyd.
Yes, completely agree with that.
Wonderful. The other one off the top of my head was Tool.
Yep.
Again, great visuals. But the thing is with Tool is I'm sure like an Alex Gray colouring book probably exists somewhere.
Probably, yeah.
And Alex Gray does a lot of their artwork. So,
yep.
They're mine.
Cool. We've actually crossed over a bit more than I expected. So that's cool. But we've got some different ones in there too. Like once I started digging through it, I've gone, actually, I could keep going for age, so I ended up stopping myself. But like you, I also had Iron Maiden. There's just no denying that would be fantastic. All of their artwork is fantastic. The ability to color in official prints from them would be fun. It'd be a good way.
And the thing is, because they've all their albums have their different sort of themes, like Brave New World and all that stuff. So that'd be cool to go through.
Yeah, like imagine doing Somewhere in Time and all that sort of stuff as well. There's so much there to have fun with. Another one that came to mind was a local band in Towhider. Because you've got Mike who does the music, but the other half of the project is actually Salty who does all the artwork. And so I reckon if they haven't already, they've got a Patreon page. So if you're watching this, Mike and Salty, then maybe you should think about doing prints of your artwork for people to do coloring in on. I reckon you've got the artist already there. May as well engage in it, and the artwork is good and fun as well. So it's a different thing, but I think it'd be really cool because they do like it's like a 50-50 project of music and visual art. So I reckon, go for it, knock that down. A bit of a fun one for me personally is Five Finger Death Punch. Wouldn't apply to necessarily all of their artwork, but some of their artwork would be very, very cool for this sort of concept. And then I went off the deep end on a rabbit hole. So like you, I had Pink Floyd. Imagine coloring in the cover to Pulse. That would be fun. That'd kill a few hours comfortably. At the same time, the Beatles. If you want to get
retro,
The Beatles had some fantastic artwork in this regard, and I'm surprised they
especially
haven't.
like the whole like Magical Mystery Tour and all that sort of psychedelic era.
Yeah, Sergeant Pepper's, all of it. Like, just even get Prince of the Yellow Submarine and all that sort of, like, they've got all that stuff there ready to go. How it hasn't happened yet, I don't know. But that'll be cool. I also had Dio. I think Dio's artwork
would be great.
Would be good for it.
It's that Holy Diver cover.
Yes, exactly. All of it. Like, a lot of the stuff would be. I think the only one that doesn't really fit would maybe be. You can even go through his Rainbow collection and that as well. There's a lot there. Alice Cooper. There'd be some cover art in Alice's collection. That'd be very, very cool. And then one that I thought was a bit different, but also would be a lot of fun too, would be Def Leppard. I think all of their artwork would cross over really nicely into that category. So I ended up with a few more than 5. Once I said, like, that, just had to stop myself because I just kept finding more and more that I went, actually, that would be fun, and that would be fun. You go through your collection like, yep. Okay.
Maybe just a side project, you know. Has anyone ever done puzzles?
Some have. There are some out there, but these would be probably cool ones as well.
Yeah, because obviously they cross over. But I was just thinking, you know, Sergeant Pepper puzzle surely exists, and I'm sure that'll be a lot of fun.
Has to.
Yeah.
I'm sure there'll be some Pink Floyd ones out there as well, surely by now.
Yeah.
Again, even sitting there with it like a tabletop of the Pulse cover would be. That's one of my favorite pieces of artwork is that particular cover. But yeah, Iron Maiden would be fun. Like, you sit there and just knock them up. Imagine how much fun it'd be, right, to do this coloring in just for your own. Everyone's looking for social media stuff to put up these days. Imagine coloring or putting a puzzle together and using that as your social media feed for however long you want to.
Yeah.
There's heaps of scope for it. Sorry?
It's an hour to kill.
And I reckon it's a great idea.
You're better off using it to draw something and be a little bit creative.
Yeah. And it's therapeutic as well.
That's it.
Especially at the moment with everyone going through a pile of shit. So I reckon it's a good idea, and it's had the right time, and I hope it inspires a lot more to go and do it. Actually, I would love to get my hands on some of this stuff. So if anyone involved in this is watching, they want to send us one to do a giveaway on, then by all means, send it in. Let's have some more fun. Let's get on to some reviews. Our first review for tonight, we've got a few to get through, is Wartooth with Programmed Dichotomy. 9 tracks for 49 minutes, the debut album from the Australian band, released April 2020 independently, produced by Chris the Melk at Monolith Studios, with the drums being recorded by Nathan Woodrow at Tall Poppy Syndromes. I think this is a cross between sort of doing things in Melbourne and Queensland, if I'm correct. All mastered by Thomas...
Brisbane.
Sorry?
As I say, I think Brisbane.
Yeah, I think so too, yeah. Mastered by Thomas Pleck Johansson at Panic Room Studios. This album also features backing vocals from local legends Sean Ferrugia, Andrew Frosty Morris, and Dylan Gatt, as well as Thamalka got on there as well. So we'll get into it. What did you think of this one?
I think this was very good, but not great.
Okay.
Yeah, so live, I actually think this would be fantastic.
Cool. I
think if Wartooth were to play at the Tote tomorrow, I'd go down, I'd get very drunk, and I'd have a wonderful night. Listening to this album, though, I thought one of the things that kind of there's something to do with the songwriting and with how things were put together. There was a lot of, so with a normal song structure, you've generally got, part A, part B, part C, and you go A, B, A, C, or whatever it is.
Yep.
With this one, it was kind of like A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and continuing on.
Mm-hmm.
There seemed to be a lot of, okay, here's this riff we like, 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 and putting it all together,
yep.
Which is fine. But when you're playing it's a very high-octane thrash metal style.
Mm.
And look, for me, the old trick of, there's a great thrash metal trick of playing the same riff and then double timing it or half timing it. I think one of the reasons why it works is because as a listener, it allows you to breathe a little bit because, again, it's a very high-octane style and there's not much room for that breathing. And I think once, as a listener for me, when it's going from all the way through, for me, this made this a very long and tiring listen.
Okay.
I just struggled to sort of pay attention to it from start to finish.
Okay.
Just because there was a lot going on, sort of following it along from start to finish without that breath and without that moment to just get stuck into the groove. I think hurt it for me. So again, I think all the songs individually here are great. So again, I think if I saw it live, I wouldn't give two shits about it. Yeah, sitting down and listening to it as an album, start to finish, again, it just felt long.
Okay.
Benevolent Destroyer is my highlight, and 7.5 out of 10.
Okay, cool. Well, I've been sitting on this album myself for a while. I think I first started listening to this one not long after it came out, actually. Before COVID really fucked everything over, I was thinking we're going to schedule it in for a review soon rather than later, and we're playing catch up now toward the tail end of the year. But for me, I think Wartooth is up there. Like, you think of things like Harlot and all that sort of stuff, and I think this fits right alongside with bands like that. I think the Australian metal scene is one of the best in the world, regardless of, like, it just is an observation. I think our metal scene here is fantastic, and I hope that it just continues to kick goals, because we've got some fucking great bands, and the sooner we get out of this shit, the sooner they can get overseas and just fucking kick everyone's ass, as far as I'm concerned. I think for a thrash band, this has pretty much everything you want. It's got the blistering riffs and drums, some solid use of groove and tempo for mine. Those harsh pitched sort of vocals are perfect for the style on this. But I think that alongside all that is another fantastic mix from Chris at Monolith. I don't think he's putting a foot wrong on that one. It's punchy but clean. It's got great dynamics. Some nice panning on this one, which I thought was cool for this style of music. You can hear everything. It's a very solid mix overall, but it's very, very clear.
Oh, look. So this is a very slick, polished, professional.
Yeah.
This is really well done.
Yeah. I liked how things opened up for the higher pitched screams. Like, those wails are really, really well done, and they add something else to listen here. So it's all, almost like Frosty from Espionage, that kind of high pitched wail kind of thing going into the air raid siren effect going on. But I liked the attention and detail given to the space in that area, and also in the bottom end on this record too. I thought it was all very well balanced. I like the lyrics on this one too. If you go through the band's social media pages, I should say, they're not shy in voicing their opinions. They've got a few things out on YouTube and Facebook and stuff. So if it's all very intelligent, well crafted. There's a bit of a bite to it, which is very, very cool. And I enjoyed the composition. I thought I liked the mid-song changes. I think, for me, it didn't get boring. I thought there was some fantastic lead work. I thought it worked best when they settled into a punchy kind of a groove. I'd like to hear more of that than.
Hey, look, that's and I mean, like, my criticism is only personal preference.
Yeah, exactly.
That's not to take away from it. It's a very well put together album, and if you're into this kind of stuff, definitely check it out.
Yeah. Oh, I don't even think your criticism was that harsh. It's just that I really enjoyed it.
Well, that should tell you something. I feel really bad about it.
Yeah, I know, but that's actually a pretty good score overall too. Like, it's actually I really enjoyed this. I think you'll be headbanging to this in no time. I think everyone gets a little time to shine. Every element gets their little moment on this, and the tempo changes along with that sort of stuff make the album flow nicely. And I was able to spin this on repeat with no trouble at all. I thought the energy was great. I want to see this live, so if we get a chance when all this is all said and done, I'll be right there beside you, going down to the Total wherever they're going to play and fucking having a grand old time. Definitely not a one-trick pony album either. It's not stale. It's got that diversity, which is cool. The only thing that I thought was a bit of an outlier on this was the cover of Skid Row's Slave to the Grind. But
when I saw that, I was actually part of me was actually wondering, is it just a song of the same name, or are they actually covered it? It looked a little out of place. But.
Yeah. No, I thought they did that pretty well. I don't think it's a highlight track of the album. I don't think it's a highlight track, but I think it's a bit of a ballsy risk to take, and I thought they did it really well. They didn't change too much, but the biggest change for me was in the syncopation and the drumming in particular. I thought that was...
All things considered, they did very well.
Yeah, I really enjoy what they do with that one. I thought it was fun. Sorry?
It was a bit cheeky.
It's actually a good way to describe it, actually. Cheeky toward the end of the album is a very good way to put it. Basically, if you like thrash, you need to hear this album. I reckon it's fantastic. It's another band that, you should add to your list of Australian bands that are coming out and kicking ass and taking names, and that's about all there is to it. I think it's really well done. 9 out of 10 for me. I fucking enjoyed it. Wired to Die, Sabotage, and Kingdom of Fear were my standouts. Now we're going to move we're going to go back in time for the next couple of reviews. So next up is Masterplan with their self-titled album. 11 tracks for 52 minutes. The debut album from the German band, released January 2003 via AFM Records, produced by Andy Sneap and Masterplan at Crazy Cat Studio. This album was released to critical acclaim and has a guest spot from Michael Kiske on it, on the track Heroes. And we're doing this as part of our spin-off because the theme for this month is the Halloween stuff toward the end of the month. So this is a spin-off of the Halloween content we're doing here. So where did you land this? I'm curious about the next two albums for you. So where'd you go with this one?
All right. So stylistically, there's two things I've got to get off my chest, first of all.
Mm-hmm.
It still blows my mind that there are metalheads out there that are going, so what should we do for the outro? We do guitar solos? No. Breakdown? No. Get the string quartet. Get the choir. And the thing that gets me is, like, you just know that what happened was they went, as 18-year-olds, they went backpacking to Salzburg and thought it'd be fun to go watch the Magic Flute. and as a result, they now think they understand classical music.
Here we go. Yep.
But that's what happened.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, too, look, the lyrics of this are atrocious.
Here we go.
The lyrics on this sound like, they sound like my poetry when I was 14.
Okay, cool.
There's something on here. I actually couldn't find the lyrics. Just I was looking for it before, but it's about, all the light on the earth that
Another part you're talking about. Yeah.
And listen, and I'm like, oh, what are you doing? Don't do that. Having said that, once you strip all that back, and I mean, this is just personal gripes that I've got. Yeah. It's actually a really well crafted album. I don't think this is the best thing from this style, but it is very good because, I mean, at its core, it does have that basic, sort of melodic hard rock thing going on. If you're into, a lot of the bands that they brought out from Melodic Rock Fest or bands like Alter Bridge and all that, you'll be into this.
Yep.
But having said that, I mean, as much as I'm going to make fun of the composition around it, and, when you grow up, listening to thrash and death metal and all that, I'm going to make fun of that. But
exactly. That's why I thought
as a fan of music, it is really interesting to listen to the contrast. And they do it pretty well. But I think the highlight for me on this was absolutely the vocals.
Yep.
I think the build and the sense of melody, and I mean, I think Enlighten Me is my highlight. But again, just the build into that chorus is just absolutely perfect. Really well done.
It's a good song, that one.
Yeah, it's a fantastic song. And, look, I can see why people like this. And just see why it was critically acclaimed because, it's like for me, who's completely foreign to this stuff, coming into this, even I can turn around and, look back and have an appreciation for what they're doing. So, Enlighten Me is my highlight because that's a cracking rock song.
Yep.
And, 8.5 out of 10.
Okay, cool. That's actually a higher score than I thought you give it. I thought, as soon as I knew it was, like, once settled in, I go, okay, it's just you and I tonight. This album and the next one, Unisonic, are going to be really interesting because we both come from very different backgrounds, so it's going to be really interesting.
This is where we need, like, Dave and Nick and all that.
To give us a bit of balance on things.
Yeah.
A bit more of a middle ground on things. I've reviewed one release from this band in the past. I think it was the last album, actually, the last studio album. They haven't got many. So this is, that melodic metal from Europe that is, nothing new. I mean, this is going back a few years as well, so, it is what it is. This has all the things you want from that style. It's got all your sort of the melody, the riffs, the flashy leads, the synth just in there, just enough to sort of things flesh out. The mix I thought was odd. Overall, it suits the style. It works well, but it has moments where it feels thin and others where it's too punchy. It's like they were shifting the goalposts in the middle of things.
So you got the okay. So
yeah,
I listened to this through Spotify on my Xbox,
Oh wow!
So I figured it was a weird equalization thing on the TV.
No, I sat down with
So that happened to you as well.
Full blown. I sat through my my good Sennheisers and dug in deep, and it came through on that. It was very bizarre.
Okay.
Like once that, because it's only for like the first third of the album, then it stops.
Yeah, because it feels like, some parts they're pushing it forward and then they're pulling it back. Yeah.
It was really weird. I didn't know what they were doing. Once it all settles in, once you get past the first sort of handful of tracks, it settles. It's like they just didn't know. It's almost like you're finding your feet while listening to the album. And then you get into the groove of the thing and you're taken by the current of it. And then it sounds really good. But before then, it's a bit weird. I just found that odd. And considering that the caliber of people involved in this, I was surprised. Like Andy Sneap, generally got a good reputation. So it's a bit of a weird one. Not that anything was bad, but it does make it harder to settle in and get used to it because you're trying to listen to it as it is. And when things just shift in a pretty noticeable way, it's like, hang on, this is off-putting to me anyway. Other people maybe not so much, but me being a production fuckwit, well then that's what's going to happen. So it was all sounded really good. It was just that first little part of it. All in all, it's a bit of a punchier mix than a lot of the genre tends to be, which actually works pretty well for this. It's pretty balanced again once it settles in. The tones from the guitar and the drums through the piano and the synth and the vocals all really sit nicely once they find that pocket. I also liked once they settled down, there was a bit of darkness in the overall tone of this record, and that was a nice touch onto the sonics of this too. I thought the lyrics were perfect for the style. Now, this is going to be perfectly due to your taste and what you think of the style of music in general. Going from, Cannibal Corpse as one of your preferred listens to this is not going to please you.
To be fair, they're both equally ridiculous.
Oh, yeah, that's true. But Cannibal Corpse have at least a shtick to hide behind. Not quite so much the case for this. But I thought for this genre, they're very well done. I thought there was nice storytelling, some hooks in there. I get the tackiness of it. I get why people will find the tackiness in it and how it can be that 14-year-old, year 7, year 8 kind of poetry writing kind of thing. But it is pretty typical for this style of music, and I thought it did it pretty well. I thought the rhythm and tempo change were good on this. They kept it interesting alongside with the melodies. The melodies were really good on this. It's got a fair bit of pace on this overall too, a bit more pacey than I was expecting it to be. I think everything was really well composed. So once, like I said, it's really a case of you get past the first few tracks on this and it really settles into a groove and it goes really nicely after that. Having said that, one of the tracks that you mentioned, Enlighten Me, is like the second track on the album. So it shows you the composition is really good, even when other things are fluctuating on it for mine. I think the composition, like I was saying, was good. Also, the track order was well thought out too. There's some really beautiful stuff on this. It's one of those records where if it doesn't grab you on the first pass, you should persist with it a little bit. There's some stuff in here that's really good just to check out and take in. Nothing terribly groundbreaking, but where I found this album still in particular was actually the solo tracks. I thought when they really slowed it down and opened it up, that was a really good trick. They did that really well on this. I thought, the pace
timed perfectly.
Yeah. They did that really nicely. The pacier stuff was good, but when those slower moments really did open up this album a lot. And they also seem to use overall a bit of variety to the tones and the style, which kept the album fresh. The album didn't drag, which is a lot for a longer listen in this style of music. These albums can drag if they're not done very well, and this one didn't drag, so it was really well done in that regard too. I think all in all, this is a solid album. If you're a fan of the genre, you're going to really enjoy this one. There's plenty to like about it. I gave it an 8 out of 10. So for all that, you actually gave it a higher score than me. I picked Soulburn, Step Into the Light, and Bleeding Eyes as my standouts on this record. Now on to the second part of the fun ones for you with Unisonic and their self-titled album. Again, this crosses over into the Halloween sort of spin-off or the orbit of the band. 11 tracks for 50 minutes, the debut album from this supergroup, released March and May in 2012 via Ear Music. Produced by the band members Dennis Ward and Kai Hansen at a few different studios across Belgium and Germany. This album is the first since Keeper of the Seven Keys Part 2 in 1988 to have both Kai Hansen and Michael Kiske performing on all the songs. So a bit of history there from 1988 to 2012 where this one landed in the scheme of things. Over to you.
Yeah, so I knew we were doing the Halloween throwback thing. So I was expecting this to be more like Masterplan.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and this actually kind of surprised me. Because, you know, it's very... the guitar tone, a lot of the guitar work is very Judas Priest-esque.
Yeah.
In a lot of those, and I actually really enjoyed it. The first half of the album, the way I described it anyway in my mind was like, you know, it's kind of like Painkiller meets Kill 'Em All.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and then sort of later on, once they slow down a little bit and settle down, you know, you get less Kill 'Em All, but more British steel.
Yeah, that's actually
kind of like, yeah, and for me, I was pleasantly surprised. We're not the experts on this style.
No, we're not.
So again, I was actually really, I've listened to it a few times because I'm taken back by because again I was expecting
something entirely different,
lights and demons and choirs and
trumpets down and angels singing.
That's it. But yeah, this is a good, solid, thrashy hard rock album. And again, if you're a fan of anything from, it's like I said, Judas Priest to Alter Bridge and Hailstorm, then you're a fan of something on here. A Unisonic, the opening track, is my highlight. I reckon that's a cracker. 8.5 out of 10 again, which I mean feels a little bit low, to be honest with you. But yeah, this is a really, really solid album.
Yeah. No, well, this was a bit of a surprise packet for me as well, to be honest. This is another band that I have reviewed in the past, but not this album. This was honestly a lot better and a lot more interesting than I went into this expecting it to be. That melodic, heavy rock that crosses over into that metal kind of territory. So what you were talking about with the Judas Priest kind of stuff, that resonated with me as well. There we go.
Hello.
What have you got going on there?
Yep.
I feel like you're trying to set something up there, but I'm not sure where you're going with it all.
I'm just scrolling down to the next part of the...
okay, cool. I think it's for what this album showed to me was it's funny how certain bits of chemistry never quite go away. And so when people click, I think they're always going to click. So, you know, Kiske and Hansen working together had that earlier Halloween feel crossed over, but also grown on, and that chemistry worked from the start, right from the album. Like the track Unisonic, that was your highlight. It's one of mine as well. The start of this album, right from the beginning, you know, it's just on and away you go. I just loved the chemistry. You could feel it straight away. I love the melody and how it plays over the riffs on this. It's got great energy, some pretty damn hooks as well, which is a bit of a surprise on it. And it's got that typical European feel, which has that little bit of pop in it, but it's done really well with the energy and the riffing. It's like, it's, you know, you say pop and it sounds like a dirty word, but it's not in this context because it's that earworm mentality that the European style always has with the balls to go under it kind of thing.
Yeah, more of like a Beatles pop rather than a...
Yeah, something you can actually respect.
Just, you know... chord progressions and a tune.
Yeah, and that's all it needs to be. Just good hooks that stay in your head and have you singing along in no time. I thought the mix was nice and solid. Everything sat really nicely on this. I liked the warmth in the bass, but also the synth was just enough of a spark without being overbearing at all. The guitar tones were fucking amazing on this too. From overdriven to clean, this sounded beautiful. The drums are just right in the mix as well. Not a lot of tricks, but it's just really well done with all the right depth and space applied to it. I thought the lyrics were brilliant on this one. There was some really good storytelling along with the composition, and that means that there's not a dud track on this record for mine. There are different things here that will appeal to different tastes, but the diversity on here is what makes this sort of easy to get into. It's also not tiring listen in any way. I thought the flow was really good. The gear change was done just right. It's easy on casual listens, but it's also really rewarding on the deep dives. When you do sit in and do the headphone mix or the loudspeaker in the room mix, this has a bit of everything on it, and it's a good, surprising sort of a listen in that regard. It has a little touch of everything, including a little moment that's sort of a bit Queen-inspired too. So, you know, you get just about everything. So we've talked about, you know, the thrashy stuff to the Priest stuff, but there was a track in the middle of this, I forget which one, maybe King for a Day it might be, where it's a bit of a Queenish kind of a track. Everything fit really well. There was nice drama used on the record. All the performances were fantastic on this as well. And I liked how this had more of that uplifting kind of fun feel. It wasn't one of those, there are somber moments on this, but there was enough tongue-in-cheek to make it fun at the same time. This wasn't like you're sitting there. It wasn't an angry record. It was heavy, it was punchy, but it was energetic and uplifting kind of a thing, which is nice in the current time going through at the moment. So it's a bit of a refreshing kind of a listen in a lot of respects. Not a huge amount of lead guitar work, but when it is done on this, it's very well done and breaks up the listen very nicely too, very refreshing. Everything on this is about serving the songs, and as a consequence, that serves the album really nice. They've done a really good job with all of those things here, so well done to them. Long story short, if you like it riffy and melodic with a nice mix of grunt and sparkle combined with great performances, this is for you. I really grew to love this more and more as I listened to it. I wanted to go back to it again when I was done. Like, this is one of those ones where it will drag you back for more, for sure. 9 out of 10 from me. Unisonic, like you, I also picked I've Tried and King for a Day. So we both really enjoyed that one, which is, it'd be funny, like Dave in particular, I know he liked the Masterplan album. He just wasn't able to join us tonight. I would love to get his take on both these albums because it'd be really interesting to get him to give us some feedback on that one. But without any further ado, hopefully I'm getting it right this time. It came through this time.
Yep.
Time for the main event of the evening, which I added this one on as a last-minute thing for us both when it came time to realize we were shifting this one to being the midweek kind of
midweek show.
The midweek show, yes. So we knew we needed to add something more current to it, and so we're going to go Blue Oyster Cult, The Symbol Remains, as our main event of the evening. This is 14 tracks for 61 minutes, the 15th studio album from the American band, released October 2020 via Frontiers. Produced by band members Eric Bloom, Buck Dharma, and Richie Castellano. Now, this is the band's first studio album since 2001, so it's a long time between drinks, almost 20 years. Over to you.
Okay, so
this will be interesting.
I've gone into this.
Yep.
I'll be freely admit, I don't think I've ever listened to Blue Oyster Cult.
They're not high on our rotation here, in general.
I know that riff in that song.
You Don't Fear the Reaper?
That's the one.
That's the one they're most known
No,
for.
actually, is it Don't Fear the Reaper? No, the instrumental one.
Oh,
That's
the fact
on
that I can't name it, yeah.
I know the chorus of Don't Fear the Reaper because I remember I watched a concert where the Red Hot Chili Peppers covered it, and I reckon, that's a cover because I've seen that title. And people make fun of the Cowbell and Christopher Walken and all that. Metallica did a cover of a Blue Oyster Cult song.
Astronomy, maybe? Is that them?
Yeah, one of them. I think that's what I know.
Yep.
So I've got no idea what to expect going into this.
Be a surprise for you.
Yeah, look, to be honest with you, I'm assuming, right, this is an album for Blue Oyster Cult.
I would think so, yeah. At this point in time, they're not trying
I don't think they're particularly fussed on, making new fans and doing.
They were on the record before making this album saying it was more beneficial and more enjoyable for them to go out on tour and do the stuff they've done as opposed to make a new album. They just
which is great for them, and from that perspective, great. But for me, it was because I didn't know what to expect. So I'm hearing that riff in my head that we've all heard, that fuzzy guitar tone, and then this album comes on, and it's songs that I can imagine my grandparents listening to.
Here we go.
It's that kind of. It's imagine that 50s rock and roll, with modern recording. That's fair enough. And it's but the thing is, when you think of 50s rock and roll, it's always that very dense, fuzzy guitar tone, and that that little Richie keyboard thing. They just discovered the overdrive, and the drummers are still jazz drummers, so they there's very little snare and a lot of cymbals and all that.
Yep.
But it's like that, but done in a modern way. So you've got more of a modern style of drumming, and more of a modern style of recording. A lot more air, but composition-wise, very 50s rock and roll.
Yep.
And it completely took me by surprise because I'm hearing that however it goes. And I'm what? Oh my god! So this was This was a wild ride.
This is so fun for me because you're the youngest of us at the moment. So this is where it's fun for me to get your take on it.
This was a wild ride, and that's the thing. So like you know, like so rock and roll is at a point now, you know, where again, as being the youngest one,
Yep.
When I grew up, rock didn't dominate the charts.
No, not even close.
So we still had rock bands. But obviously, we listened to a lot of older stuff, and of course, we listened to there was a lot of Beatles and Stones because that's what that's what we had access to, and
the classics died.
Yeah, and it's interesting to listen to this and hear that stuff still works.
Yep.
Because like when I first listened to this, I was thinking like I'm gonna rip this to shreds. The more I listen to it, and it's just like I can't hate this. There's something
it's infectious.
There's something incredibly like I feel like I wanted to compare it to the Wiggles. Right? David, think about what I'm saying when I say that. Like originally, when I thought of it, it was an insult. But what it is, it's like, man, I learned how to play drums playing the Wiggles.
Yeah.
When I was 4 years old.
Yep.
And that's what it's something so incredibly infectious about these old dudes just reverting back to their childhood and going, nah, fuck it.
Yep.
And it comes through on the record.
Yep.
And I cannot fault it. I think there's something so incredibly beautiful and sweet about it.
Beautiful. Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah. Train True is my highlight. Lenny's song.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Because
the rockabilly one.
Yeah, and it went in a completely different direction than what I was going for, and it just stuck in my head.
Yep.
8.5 out of 10. Again, I can't give it a high score because but again, I was expecting to rip this to shreds, and this is just so beautifully infectious. It's fantastic.
Cool. That's not where I thought this would go, because this is, like you said, it's very, very old school. I'm the same as you, not listening to a lot from this band. I wasn't sure it was going to go, but being a little more familiar with them, it didn't surprise me where it did go as much as it probably took you by surprise. But that said, this is a fucking wild ride, and this is not Don't Fear the Reaper. This is a pretty diverse record. This is, you've got it down. It's the bunch of older guys just doing what they want, and they've gone on the record of saying, it was the band themselves right now are too good a sound and too good performers, too good writers to not have a record with this lineup. It's a different lineup to the classic lineup. They wanted to get something with these guys on record, and I think that's good as well. Like the mentality.
And you know what? Like as a guy who's playing in a band, like I understand that. And that's what I think is so wonderfully pure about it.
Yeah, and that's the thing. No expectation.
It's what we all get. It's what we all get into. We don't get into music to be rock stars. We get into music because we like playing music, and that's what's so beautiful about this.
Yeah, like the last album, 2001, did poorly. They said it's going to cost us more than it's worth to do a record. It's got to be what they actually want to do. They're not doing it to make any money out of it. They're doing it because they wanted to get something for themselves down. Part of their legacy, I guess, is what you'd put it down to. And I think they've done a really good job with it. This goes anywhere from sort of rock to hard rock all the way through to sort of almost metal and almost rockabilly. It's got a bit of modern Deep Purple, but a bit of classic Alice Cooper in there at the same time. It's got a bit of everything. It's really well written, really matured songs. This is like, you get the bottle of scotch or good whiskey that's been sitting in the barrel for 12 years, and these are the songs that have been steeping in those barrels for a while, and they've pulled them out and gone, okay, well, it's time. It's time now to put these guys down. I thought that they're really good. They're mature songs, but they're fresh at the same time. And I love the lyrics as well. Great storytelling in this. Has a knack of staying with you. Like, I think that Tim's testament to that is better than mine. This will draw you back to it as well. Not the heaviest thing by far, but it's a solid thing where they've got the retro side but they've kept it refreshing. And it's like the new meets old kind of thing. No huge hooks, but it's all very memorable too. Great use of like accents in the production and the writing in this, the tonal shifts, the backing vocals, the subtle things that come through as ear candy. but they keep the whole thing interesting as a listen. It's a longer listen, but time flies by. I didn't feel like this was an hour listen to sit down and go through it at all. I thought the mix was great. Not a lot of tricks, apart from just having a good balanced mix, but it was very well done. I liked how the top, middle, and bottom end all sounded great. Nothing competed for your attention on this. This was so well mixed. And for the band members to mix it themselves is saying something too. Like they've really taken a very mature approach to this, and it just shows. It's just classy. I think that's a good way to put it. It's classy. Album flow was great. The hour flies by, like I said. They're great performances across the board, no matter what the instrument is on. Well, Nala is using jet propulsion to get herself going out of the chair. I don't know if
she doesn't fall again.
Oh man, that was. She's getting old, and so she's getting a bit gassy, but that was one of her better ones. There's just enough flash on this record to show you their chops, but not enough that it becomes a distraction to the songs. Everything here serves the songs. Even the use of harmonies, all that sort of stuff was really well done. All in all, this is a cool, diverse listen. That's a well-rounded product overall. It's not going to be for everyone, but at the same time, there is something here that is for everyone, if that makes sense. Like, not the whole record is for everyone, but there's pretty much a song on this that's going to impress every single person out there in some way, shape, or form. It's really talented, really well done. I want to dig a bit deeper into this band after this. I feel like I've overlooked something with this after listening to this record. If the rest of the stuff's like this, then wow, this is classic music, like you were saying, the 50s and maybe the 60s brought into today. This is very, very well done. I feel like classic rock at all. This is for you. I gave it 8.5 out of 10 as well. You know, it's not the most original thing in the world out there, but it's fucking well done. I picked Stand and Fight, The Alchemist, and Edge of the World.
Just quickly.
Yeah.
You know, what so often you see these old bands do these albums, right? And you can, not to say that it's for money, but you can hear people don't like each other.
Yeah, exactly.
And it comes through, and you can see these bands. Man, I always go back to it. I saw Oasis like 3 months before they broke up.
Yeah,
you can see that band hated each other.
Yep.
And even, you know, like, again, I saw BDI twice. Oh, no, sorry, BDI once, or Noel twice. Yep. BDI once, and even then, which was the same band, just without Noel Gallagher.
Yep.
They didn't like each other either.
Yep.
And I saw Liam Gallagher at Festival Hall, and it was like this dude had been liberated.
Yeah. Yep.
And he was back to, you know, I'm just doing what I want. And what this compares me, what I would compare this to is, do you remember the American Johnny Cash recordings?
Yeah.
Where it was just this guy at the end of his career, just content with his life, just going, yeah, here it is. Here's what I want to do, and I'm enjoying doing it. And if you want to come along for the ride, then come along for the ride. And that's what I compare. This is so amazingly pure. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it's art for the sake of doing art.
Yeah.
Not for any other purpose apart from this is who we are. And
yeah.
I think that gets lost along the way for a lot of people out there. I really do think that.
Just like I watched the same thing. I watched the Keith Richards Under the Influence stuff.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And like, again, you know, whatever you want to say about the Rolling Stones or whatnot, you put Keith Richards in his solo band with Steve Jordan in a room. And it's like, man, these two dudes just love playing together.
Yeah,
and that's all it is.
Yep,
it's the same thing with this.
Yeah, and that warmth was not only captured in the mix, but also just in the way the songs come across. Like, this feels like it's the warm blanket and a cup of soup on a cold winter day kind of thing. It's a really comfortable, take you in kind of a listen, and that sounds softer than it actually is, because it's actually got a fair bit of balls about this record, which was a surprise as well. But it just feels comfortable.
But it's all very well placed. It's all very well placed, very well thought. It's everybody thinking, okay, how can we make the best song?
Yeah, and it's no ego. There's no ego in this.
No.
And that's the refreshing part about it for mine too. I think there was no one's got to have this or that or whatever else. It was just, that's why I liked my analogy of, you know, you get the songs that have sat in the barrel of oak for however long, and it's come out well seasoned.
Perfect.
And, you know, that was what it thought of to me. It was like opening up a really good bottle of whiskey and taking in all the flavors and not dumping it full of Coke, which is the ego of the individual. You know, you just take the whole thing as it's meant to be enjoyed. It's smooth as fuck is how this goes down, for as much as not even any real serious ballads on there per se. You get some slower tracks, but nothing that's, that obligatory, we're trying for a radio single kind of, none of that. Just they did what they wanted. And that's why this album comes across so cool too, because it's so, they cover this breadth and expanse of, abilities and style. And, you can tell they're old school heads and they got a bit of prog in there too and that sort of stuff. But none of it's standoffish or overbearing. It's really warm and inviting. So this is one of the ones, I reckon in this day and age,
it's worth a listen.
It is. And I think in this day and age where, especially in this year where everything's going to be so overlooked, this is one of those albums where I think more people should check out this one because I haven't heard anything like it this year. It's a unique.
No, not in a long time.
And I haven't.
Because there are plenty of bands doing a throwback sound.
Yeah.
Right, but nobody's. But we're all doing a throwback sound with the memory of what we think it should sound like. Whereas these guys have sort of unintentionally done it.
Yeah, and because they were there, like
Yeah.
It's very.
But
cool.
this doesn't feel deliberate.
No, that's it. Yeah,
it's not like Blues Pills going, okay, we're going to write a '50s blues album.
Yeah, exactly.
This is Blue Oyster Cult going, we're going to make a Blue Oyster Cult album.
That's it. And I mean, for a band that's been around for so long as well, it's only their 15th album, where a lot of other bands from the same era have done a lot more than that. So they haven't gone, and like I said, it's nearly 20 years between records for these guys. So I think the approach of it's just doing it for them, for their sake, has really come through in this. And it's actually really rewarding for the listener too, not just for the musicians. I think it's rewarding for the listener. I think it's one of those ones where it's a surprise pack that'll go down. I think it is one of those ones that will keep you coming back later on as time goes on. I think this one I will revisit in the years to come and go, this is cool. It's also a good palate cleanser. It's one of those ones you go in between and it just breaks your cycle up and you can go back to something else afterward kind of thing too. And it's one of those ones that's easy on the casual and easy on the deep listen too. So very well done. I can't give it like a 9 or a 10 out of 10 kind of thing, but it's one of those ones where you got to respect the work they put into it though. It's really well done. And I would love, because I know this one from my mind, when you look at, social media posts and stuff and keeping up with things the way we do, this album hasn't gotten a fucking mention anywhere.
No.
Very few people are talking about it. I'd like to get some of our viewers or listeners to check this out.
There are more people talking about the train wreck of 6 Feet Under than this.
Yeah, exactly. And
at the end of the day, it's the car crash. And it's terrible, whereas this is fantastic.
I'd like for
some I'm guilty of that as well.
Sorry?
And I'm guilty of that as well.
Yeah. I would like to get more of our audience to check this album out and give us their thoughts. I would like to get some feedback on this particular record out of this episode because I think it's worth checking out and see what people think of it. It's one of those refreshing ones. It's like, you know what? Cool. Some old school dudes doing it the right way because they know how to do it and because they're doing it for themselves as opposed to trying to make the next big thing. They're just doing it because they can. It's in their DNA. It's organic for these guys. And that's the cool thing about it. Glad we both liked it. Actually, the 4 reviews have gone pretty well overall, which is
yes.
And we covered a fair bit of diversity in this too. Believe it or not, for all the there's a fair bit of when you go through these records, there's a bit going on.
Well, this is very different to Wartooth.
Yeah, very very different. We sort of went from Wartooth to the different spectrums in between, and we've ended up with this is cool. I'm glad that these ones went as well as they did. It's been fun. But again, before we start to wrap things up, our details are in the description of this. So whether you're watching or listening or however you're consuming this, then please do check out our details. Follow us on all of our social media platforms, like, subscribe, follow, all that sort of stuff. You know what to do by now. Everyone knows what they're doing in that regard. So please do that for our pages. And also, if you can, please check out our Patreon page. If there's anything there that catches your attention, it doesn't cost much. And there's all sorts of things in there from giveaways through to one-to-one Zoom sessions to doing reviews that you request as well. So let us know if you can get on there and give us any support. That'd be fantastic. While we're talking about support, thank you to our wonderful, amazing sponsors yet again in Squidding, Screen Printing, Alt Cult, and Rockstar Finance. Please do again find their links in the description and check out their socials as well and follow them to show them a bit of love for the support they give us here at THRS. Remember, we're also on television. We're not just on your audio or video platforms now. We're actually on TV before we did this sort of stuff. So 10:30 on Saturday nights on Channel 31 in Melbourne and Geelong, and 10:30 on Thursday nights in Adelaide on Channel 44. Check us out there. Remember, our upcoming special very soon now to do this one is for Halloween, and this year we're doing a focus on the band Halloween, which is fitting because it'll be theoretically released on Halloween night itself. Next time around when we get together, we're pretty sure that Tim and I are doing it. We'll see who else is going to join us next time around. But here's what we're going to do, Tim. So here's news for you as well. We're going to do Avatar, Gamma Ray, Trivium, and Private Function. That's what we're working on. We're also got, hopefully, if we can make it line up, a little special something with Jimmy coming into the works as well. We're just trying to find a time to lock him down because he's very hard to get a hold of, is Jimmy. But yeah, that's what we're working on. And that's what's coming up in the very near future. Now, hopefully everything's still working right. So now it's time for... The bin. I got it right this time. It didn't fuck up like last time. All right. So over to you, Ben. What's in your mind for the bin this time around?
So my bin is the Australian media, but not for the reason that you think.
Mm-hmm.
My bin is the Australian media for using the euphemism close personal relationship.
Yes, it's a.
We all know what we're talking about.
Yep.
You don't need the euphemism.
No. The only thing that comes from it's a legal framework about not sharing finances.
Yeah, it's no, but you can say you don't have to go into great detail. Trust me.
Everyone,
but you can say they're having an affair.
Yeah, or they will love it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Involved in a romantic partnership.
Yeah. Whatever.
Not they were involved in a close personal relationship. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. That's
the old school parochialism coming out, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like flight deck. Because nobody wants to say cockpit.
Yep. It's very, very silly. That whole story is remarkable.
It is remarkable.
Yeah. For those who are not following along, it's Australian.
Close person.
Yeah.
Yeah, close personal relationship you can get in the bin.
Yeah, no, there's no need for that. We're a bit beyond that now. I think we can get past the kiddie gloves when it comes to these sorts of descriptions. They had a private closed session as a part of the testimony today, so I'm sure they got the juicy bits out in that, which will never be, or in theory, never be known to us out in the public. But apparently, it was published. So,
yeah, I'm not keen on the juicy bits. I want to know the corruption bits.
I don't want too much info. I just want to know where the corruption went, not the rest of the stuff. I don't give a. And that's the thing too about the journalist side of that argument about they're all complaining about the love life. No one gives a fuck. The audience don't actually care about the love life. The audience care about where the money was involved in this relationship. No one cares who was boning who. No one cares. We're beyond that these days. No one gives a shit anymore.
At the end of the day, they're two adults. They can do whatever they want.
And at the same time as that, it's not surprising.
It's whether or not there was corrupt public money involved.
Well, yeah, I was going to say that when people, we all know that workplaces tend to be where most romances start because you tend to be in the same social and general circle as each other, and so. At
the end of the day, you're at work more than you are at home.
Exactly. So it's not surprising that shit happens. That's human. I'm okay with that. It's what I find most odd about this whole thing is how we ripped the absolute bejesus out of Steve Smith, the Australian cricket captain, for doing the exact same thing where he walked by and said, I don't want to know about that. She said the same thing about millions of dollars in kickbacks. So for an elected official that's the premier of a state, that's kind of important. You know, if we're going to tear apart a cricket captain for ignoring someone sandpapering a ball, I think we need to do the same thing here if we're going to have him.
Yeah.
That ties into my bin in general. The media, but also the entire liberal national mob and any of the pure antagonists we have at the moment. Us here in Victoria, whether you are in the LNP, whether you're in the media, whether you're a business, that fucking business dude, fuck him too, or you're a media personality or whatever else have you, if you are there in the business of punching down at Victoria right now, fuck you. Fuck you. And I hope that a lot of people out there watching and listening or alongside us in Victoria will not forget this when it comes time to have your say down the line, because fuck them all as far as I'm concerned. They can all get in the bin. I've had enough of them this week in particular. It's been remarkable. You saw the story about the business owner, didn't you? I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Not surprising. His best buddy.
Like every nut job's kind of covering.
Sorry.
And every nut job covering them.
Yes, and how they're glorifying it as well, especially when they're out of state, like certain media personalities are. Just fuck off. Stay in your own lane. I don't use that saying very often, but they can fuck off.
Here's the thing, too. It's coming entirely from the federal government.
It's all...
And like, I know we've got TV in Adelaide.
Yeah.
And, like, with regards to this COVID situation, like, I got friends in Adelaide, and Adelaide is, Adelaide is what should be the gold standard.
Yeah.
Not New South Wales.
No.
It's Adelaide. And...
even WA.
Yeah. And, we've gotten more empathy from those places because they know that had we not been so strict, chances are it would have spread there.
Mm-hmm.
As opposed to, the federal government, tried doing their best to scapegoat us for their own poor popularity.
Oh, and their own fuck-ups too, because at the end of the day, the responsibilities that have come through this and where most of the deaths are have come from direct lines of federal responsibility too.
Yeah.
And the flip side to all that is just how, if not for luck, a lot of other places have been in the same situation as us. And if you look at what's happening in Europe and the US where they have opened up, and for that to be obvious in front of them, there's 100,000 cases a day in across Europe as we do this today. And the fact that that's not eye-opening to say, okay, just make sure you get under control before you open up. No, we've got to open up now as opposed to just...
there's as unfortunate as it sounds, there are limited hospital beds.
And that's the reality of it. And Victoria is different to
we can't. Unfortunately, we can't. There's not a hospital bed for everybody. And if it gets too much, then that's what we want to avoid.
And that's the biggest problem. And I think the attitude of certain circles of society where money is more important than life, where we've proven, when required, the government can just hand out money and not care, then it's all a misnomer anyway for mine. It's a bunch of nonsense. So nip that in the bud. Let's actually work together and stop kicking people when they're down. That'd be nice. And like I said, I hope the rest of us that are here living it will remember this down the line too. But it's not just you and I, unfortunately. We'll see how it plays out as time progresses on. Fun and games in that regard, I'm sure. But unless there's anything else you want to add while we're here, or are you...
No, I'm pretty good.
You're pretty good? All right.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, we'll see each other very, very soon for our next session, which means you'll all be seeing us again very, very soon as well. Thank you for taking the time to do this with me tonight, Tim, and thank you to all of you out there for taking the time to enjoy our antics here as well. Hopefully you've enjoyed this episode. Make sure you give us your feedback. It's always welcome. But we'll see you again very, very soon. Until then, I'm Andrew.
I'm Tim.
As always, drink up.
Rock on.
All right. It's just you and I today. It's all right.
Yep.
There we go. Relatively painless.
Yeah. So, Sunday this week?
Yeah, Sunday, because it's Jodie's birthday on Saturday. So, yeah, I'm not going to be doing it on Jodie's birthday.
No, don't do that. That'd be a bad idea.
That's a very bad idea. Not going to happen. No, we've got the present sorted out. We're going to get the cake tomorrow and do that sort of stuff.